I genuinely think no matter who you ask from my school, and like I said, I still speak to many people who I used to go to school with, and I've never heard a single bad thing said about it. And I think a lot of the things that I'm saying now are really quite applicable to anybody else that went, at least in the years that I was.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
Being at Sunnybrook, there's a lot to appreciate, but the biggest thing I remember when I was there always appreciating was just how much sense of community there was. It being a small school, which is no secret, it really, the student to teacher ratio, since it's so small, you really feel nurtured in a way that allows you to really, there's nothing stopping you from being exactly who you wanted to be as a person. Um, and so the teachers doing that and kind of everyone else doing that as well, it's a really special thing, and maybe something I didn't appreciate in the moment, but looking back on it now was monumental. Other than the physical aspects of the school being a smaller school, I feel like that differentiates it, not in a way that's limiting, but in a way that, that it really provides that room to grow as a very young human. Um, there were there were definitely times where I, compared to maybe some of my friends outside of school, when we talk about, oh, I have this many kids in my class, I have this many kids in my school, and really how that like affects them. I feel like that could be the biggest differentiating factor in the school, not in a way that is any discredit to the reasons behind it. Very nurturing for sure. Very, very inviting, very warm, very inviting. Second one would be very caring. I guess it kind of falls into the same category a little bit, but very caring for sure. There was never a time where I ever was walking around and felt like, oh, no one cared about me, or no one cared how I was doing or even where I was. I always felt like there was a big sense of, we want to care about you, not because we only have to, because it's what the teachers really enjoy doing so much. They always loved the kids. That was no secret at all. And then the last thing I would say is maybe a very happy person. Um, it was, you know, always kind of sunshines and rainbows, no matter what was going on at the school or outside of it. It was always a place where I felt like I could kind of leave all my problems at the door, because what was going on inside was always happy and always positive. Of course, there's always your moments where, things might need to not be that for very different reasons, but it'll always be a very happy place that I remember. I would say a big thing that connected a lot of the students was the teachers, for sure. Teachers always did everything that they really could to make sure all the kids were feeling incorporated, and they did it up to a point in time where they they really nurtured it so much to the point where they wouldn't have to do it anymore, because us kids, we kind of learned to do it, and we learned that there's benefits to it, and that really came through all of the teachers. And then in terms of a lot of the spirit of the school. We had house systems, we had teams, we had a lot of fantastic. These were my thing. We had a lot of fantastic like musical theater productions, which I definitely thought really brought a lot of us together, because that is something that every single person at the school gets participated in, and everyone has a role and everyone has some part to play. And that was definitely a big way to bring us all together. And then also the whole house systems, because it is small. We really, you got to know everyone in your house, and you got to really expand yourself and who you knew and who you spent your time around towards everyone else in the different grades, all around the school. The biggest value for me and my biggest takeaway from being at the school was kind of learning how to be the most real version of myself I could be. And like, listen, it's no secret. The kids are young at that school, and like, how much can someone really learn to be themselves when they're, you know, 4 to 12 years old? But I really think it really establishes a backbone of how you can learn to be yourself. But it gives you the space to. And so in terms of its values, honesty, huge one. Compassion, like I said previously, is a big, a big, a big feeling that the school brings. But just honesty within yourself. While you're there, it doesn't feel like a small school, just because the personality and the love and the joy that it all brings is so big, that there are times at least looking back on it now, the first thing I remember about it is not how small it was. It was about how huge the personality of it was. It makes everyone feel included. It makes everyone feel special in a way, which no matter who you are, everyone, I think, needs a little bit of. Um, and it really just gives you that safe space to do that. I would consider myself a very outgoing person. And I think if it wasn't for the school and how much it encouraged me to do that, I wouldn't be as outgoing as I at least try to be today. Because of how much nurturing there is, it really lets you feel like you can be your real self, versus maybe going to somewhere bigger where the student to teacher ratio isn't so small, and if there's more kids and stuff like that. It maybe a school like that, there, of course there's nothing wrong with, but that sense of just you be who you want to be maybe wouldn't be so reinforced. And I remember coming out of that school, and listen, these things in the moment you don't realize them, but coming out of the school you realize so much that the school has, it always encouraged you to be who you wanted to be. And that is that, there's nothing more to anything than just being who you are. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be the person who I am. So in terms of how it evolved me, it kind of really just let me be exactly who I wanted to be. I was a big fan of my school, and I really, really have a lot of belief in everything it stood for and everything that it taught me. And genuinely, I don't really remember there being things that I didn't like. I mean, you're a kid, you are in a co-ed school, there'll always be drama, whatever that entails for being of that age. But I mean, that's a part of it, and that is the same no matter where you are. no matter what kids you ask at that school, no matter who they are as people. And I still speak with many, I'm still friends with a lot of the kids who I went to school with. And, none of us didn't like it. It's kind of really just nothing, no bad things to say. Obviously, as I've moved further and further away from it, I've understood more about it, and I've realized, just what it did for me and what the things that it taught me. And as time has passed, my opinions and thoughts and feelings about the school, more than anything, really have just been reassured, or at least highlighted, just because I maybe didn't understand something, or the things that it was trying to teach and reinforce as much as I did maybe back then. But coming out of it now, everything about the school has really it's all really being highlighted in a way, just because I see myself, compared to a lot of kids. And not that anyone's experience is better or worse than anybody else's, but there's definitely a differentiating factor between, coming out of that school versus coming out of somewhere else. And that really only time can show that, and the more time you spend around other people. So like I said, everything that I thought was cool back then, I look at now, and my perspective on it now is really, wow, that was a lot bigger of a deal than I thought it was, in a great way. Number one, I'd say first reason, most important one, go there because you'll be taken care of. You will be not like you're not going to be handheld through everything, because there are definitely aspects where they give you a push, and there, of course, you have to learn how to do things on your own. But the main thing is, you'll be taken care of. You'll never be the kid sitting in the back not being talked to. You'll never be someone who maybe isn't getting any attention. You will always be cared for in a way that is supporting and really encourages you to take that command on your own. That's the first thing. Second thing is, the school really has a lot of values planted in, really planting the roots for future, emotional things, who you are, the things you believe in terms of like how to be as a person. But the it really early on definitely plants a lot of those ideas in your head of how to be, for sure, your most authentic self, and what that means to kind of be the best versions of yourself. So that is a huge part of it. Definitely a second reason is the character part of it, even at that young age. But a lot of that stuff really sticks with you. And the last reason I would tell people to go to that school, of course, I haven't really talked about academics in this interview, just because, academics are always going to be academics. There's always going to be your math, your English, your French, all that stuff. Of course, those teachers were phenomenal as well, and I had great experiences within those classes. But I would say the last reason you should go to the school is because it teaches you how to be involved, with the community, with your classmates, with things and clubs and co-curriculars. And it teaches you to put yourself out there and to do what you enjoy, or just to try things. And a lot of those things really reinforce everything else that I've been talking about character, about, emotional intelligence that the school brings, especially looking back on it now. It teaches you not to be afraid of trying. And that's a very important skill, I think, for life, really. Definitely don't be afraid of the size. It's by no secret a small school, but that does so much more good than it does anything else. You'll you'll be taken care of, but you won't be coddled in a way that you have the inability to do anything on your own. It just really it teaches you how to be you. And you can get very distracted on how it looks from the outside, how many kids there are, what the numbers are, stuff like that. But in the end of the day, that is not what it's about. That is just in play because it really gives the opportunity to have that focus on all the kids always. So don't be afraid of the size, because it's it's so much bigger of a school than how many kids there are, for sure. If you end up going to Sunnybrook, you're going to have a good time. You're going to be taken care of. Everything will be okay, no matter what. And, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because you'll always be encouraged to. And always try new things. Do the play, try out for a sports team, do a club, something you haven't done before. It will always work out well, and you'll always learn something from it, whether or not you continue it. And you won't realize it in the moment, but these things have a long lasting impact, and you'll be better off because of it.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.